My wife, 41, and I, 46, were married for 18 years when our sex life ran out of steam. We had twins that were grown and attending college. When they moved out, I thought for sure our sex life was going to get a boost. It did for a month, but then having sex anywhere in the house at any time got boring. We read online that taking a friend vacation without your spouse is a good way to miss each other and crave intimacy. Friendly flirting can also help fuel the craving your partner has for you. I was skeptical of this, but it was the first time in a while I saw my wife so excited to do something. We started making arrangements for our separate vacations. For some reason, my wife and her friends decided to go to Colorado. On their tour schedule was the town where my wife grew up. As far as I knew, my wife didn't have a very positive childhood. I was surprised she wanted to go there, and without me, I decided my friends and I would go to Wyoming. I always wanted to visit Yellowstone National Park. After the tickets were bought, my wife started texting on her phone a lot. I didn't want to bug her. I was pretty sure she was just making arrangements and chatting with girls about the upcoming vacation. I texted my friends about it. Of course, we just didn't have as much to say. I asked my wife for a copy of their itinerary, and she was caught off guard by my request. She said she would have to edit it because she mixed up the dates on the first draft. Once she fixed it, she gave me one of the printouts. It was a bunch of girly activities like yoga, shopping, yogurt treats, hiking, and restaurants. Well, fast forward to 3 days into our 6-day vacation. I missed her a lot. I was having fun, but suddenly 6 days felt like way too long. To make matters worse, my wife stopped responding to me. It really made me worry. I told my friends about it, and they of course told me to just relax and enjoy my time away, in a new place. I did, for another day. But my wife was responding really weirdly to my texts. It was like she didn't care what I had to say, and only responded because she had to. I felt terrible, and I was worried. My wife's itinerary placed her group at a restaurant that night for dinner exactly 6 hours away from my friends and I. I started driving there at 1 p.m., so I'd get there by 7. When I got there, I found all of my wife's friends. They were shocked to see me. I asked them where my wife was, and they told me the worst news ever. She left them to meet up with someone else. I collapsed onto one of the chairs by their table, and they offered me even more information. They said she'd been on her phone until this morning when she left before anyone woke up. She only texted them to say she wouldn't be back until late. I asked if she said anything else about who she was meeting or where she was going. Finally, one of her friends gave me a tiny piece of paper. She said it was for safety reasons because my wife didn't want to go somewhere without someone knowing. It was an address. This friend added that my wife didn't want her to tell anyone, especially not me, where she was going, and this was only if she didn't come back in time for the flight home. Seeing as I showed up unexpectedly and concerned, this friend was persuaded to tell me the truth. I thanked her and ran out to my car. She caught up to me and asked if she could tag along. I agreed. I needed someone else to balance out my panic. Her name was Jade, and she told me about her family, hobbies, and work. It was a great distraction, but as soon as we got to the address, I was worried again. It was someone's house. There weren't any cars in the driveway, but it was only 8 p.m. Just before 9 p.m., a car pulled into the driveway. A man got out of the driver's seat, and my wife got out of the passenger seat. I got out, followed by Jade, and called out, "Hey, honey." She jumped and turned to see me. Her mouth was hanging open and she was infuriated. She immediately asked what I was doing there, and why I was with Jade. I told her she came with me for emotional support because I wasn't sure what I was going to find. I looked at the man I had never seen before and asked who he was. He boldly said he was my wife's lifelong friend and new lover. I punched him in the face. My wife screamed and got closer to him. She yelled that he didn't know we were married. I asked her whose fault that was. He didn't know, because she didn't want him to know. I asked if she planned for this the whole time, and she refused to answer me, even having the nerve to say I shouldn't be there. She looked at Jade and blamed her for being a snitch. I stepped in and said she only told me because she shared my concern, and I drove 6 hours to find her. This trip was supposed to renew our intimacy and give my wife a chance to miss me as she thought fondly of us, but instead, she used this time to meet up with a man from her past. I told her she wasn't welcome back at our home, and we were over. I trusted her to remain loyal and use this time to benefit our relationship, and she chose to destroy it. I couldn't believe it. After all this ranting, her bold lover started cursing at Jade and I, demanding we leave. He encouraged her to get in the house. She made eye contact with me for no more than 4 seconds before saying she was sorry and following him into the house. 4 seconds was all the deliberation it took for my wife to leave me standing in another man's yard. 4 seconds out of 18 years. I got back in the car with Jade and started driving back to the restaurant. She apologized for me having to go through all of this. She said she wanted to keep me company when I got home if that was okay, and I graciously accepted. After she got back to her car, I started the long car ride home. I called my twin sons and guy friends to tell them what was going on. They were extremely sympathetic and flocked to my side for emotional support. 3 weeks after I got home, Jade was visiting me at least twice a week. I appreciated her a lot. Just as much as I appreciated my sons and friends because they continued checking up with me, over the phone or in person. My sons told me they could never see mom in the same light again. They kept in touch with her over the phone, but they dedicated themselves to their college studies and didn't consider changing their lives to help her in any way. One of my wife's mutual friends told Jade that her app dumped her after 4 months for being too clingy. That had to hurt so bad. She was used to being married for 18 years, it's no wonder she was clingy to him. She probably wanted to be assured emotionally that she made the right decision, but that only made him leave her. I wondered what she was going to do with her life now, but I didn't try very hard to find out. An entire year later, I checked my old email address and found that my wife had been sending me emails weekly that entire time. The messages ranged from extremely angry with me, to completely desperate for my response and love. I was honestly relieved I didn't find these messages until a year later, because by now I was romantically involved with Jade, and wasn't tempted to take my wife back after her infidelity. I hope this story encourages people not to cheat. I hope it encourages people who are going through betrayal to know it's really okay. It's not the end of the world, and life goes on. Even though my wife's world turned upside down, she still had another chance to change her ways and make herself a better woman. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Caught my wife cheating on our son's birthday, so I exposed her 2-year affair, destroyed her lover's life and career, and initiated a brutal divorce. It all happened some time ago. I was advised by a dear friend of mine to share the story of my divorce on here. Sorry if I text funny, it's my first time here. I'm 37M, and my wife is 31F. It all started a few years ago. I believed we were happy, we were your average suburban couple, although having been together for a very long time now, I never anticipated this. We didn't have many problems in our marriage even before we got married. We had a fairly open relationship without any issues or hiccups. We were financially secure. A healthy sex life, we loved and respected each other. We have 2 kids, 16F and a 9-year-old. I thought we had a healthy social life. We were going through one of your typical married couple's rough patches. We both were working long hours and not spending enough time together, and it was affecting our marriage. Also, it was the fact that I noticed that she was spending a lot more time on her phone texting with her girlfriends. I didn't think much of it until she started to become super protective about her phone and even started acting cold towards the kids and me. All these were red flags, which I didn't like, so I started to make a much more concerted effort to get out of work when I could. Help around the house, spend some time with her, and be more emotionally available, but over the course of a few weeks, the gulf just kept getting wider. She seemed even more detached. I discovered the affair on the night of our son's 8th birthday. We had everyone over, family, friends, and even colleagues. It was a full house. Her parents were there too. We were all having fun when it was time for my son to blow out the candles. She gave me her phone to take a picture of her, my son, her friends, and her parents. Just as I steadied myself for the photo, a text message popped up. It read, "I love you very much, baby, I miss you." I don't know how long I froze, but it must have been more than a minute. I miss you? My ex-wife's voice brings me back to reality. I smiled and took the photo. I commend myself for how I acted that night. I kept calm and smiled. But my mind raced. The number wasn't saved on her phone, so I had no way of knowing who it was my ex was cheating on me with. How long had the affair gone? Was she sleeping with him? I mean, of course, they were. Later that night, after we were done cleaning up, I put the kids to bed and went to bed. She was fast asleep. The party had worn her out. I snuck her phone from under her pillow and went to the bathroom. I checked her emails and her texts. Everything. I tried her messenger, but I didn't know the password. I couldn't find the number, and she deleted the texts. She was careful, no wonder I hadn't noticed it. I went back to bed, angry, and frustrated, staring at the woman I had been loyal to for years. I swore I would get to the bottom. Some days later, I came home early to spend some time with the kids. She was out grocery shopping. I decided to charge the kids' phone. It's her old tablet phone we left for the kids in case of emergencies. My 8-year-old son uses it to watch Sid, the Science Kid. As I charged, I decided to take a look, where I accidentally discovered that her messenger, Facebook, was still logged in. I entered, and I found a lot of sex messages between my wife and a guy named Lewis. There were a lot of inappropriate texts and even nude photos of my wife and of him. It was all overwhelming to read. He worked in a bank and apparently then in love with each other. She told him she didn't love me anymore, and how I was terrible in the sack, and how no one could make her climax as he, Lewis, did. She even planned to leave me and get married to him. All my flaws, insecurities, and secrets I entrusted to my partner. She used to mock me. It was painful to read. From how long the text span, the affair must have been going on for 2 years. 2 years. I was almost in tears. I managed to take some screenshots, thinking of how to confront my wife when she got back. Just then, a text message came in from Shithead. It read, "Hey, babe. Are we still down for the weekend? As the next day. My ex replied, "Yay, honey." Shithead went on to remind her of the name of the hotel and room number he'd be staying at. Such a dumbass. It was music to my ears. I decided to confront her there and humiliate them both. I knew where they would be and what room they'd be staying in. All I needed to do was to stage the perfect surprise. I was worried about my kids and the new life that was about to come. She came home from the supermarket. I could hardly look her in the eye, and I didn't want to give myself away. So, I went out. I consulted a lawyer, got my options, had a few drinks, and started laying out my plan. Sure as hell, the next day, the wife is buttering me up. She says she wants to take a spa weekend with the girls to relax, and when she returns, she wants us to go on vacation, reconnect with ourselves, and focus on our marriage. I go with it all the way. I tell her sure, of course, it's the most incredible idea she's ever had, and I'll do anything to get us back on track. I spoke with the attorney and asked him to draft a strong separation agreement stating her move-out deadline, weekend visitation rights, and the absence of child support until the divorce is final. She didn't know what was coming. She gets ready, leaves and kisses me goodbye, and says she loves me. I tell her to have fun. Immediately she's gone. I go to the bank, close our joint and money market account, and collect a cashier's check for her share, depositing my half into my new account. I stop back at the house. In my office, I print out about 35 pages of Facebook screenshots. I kill time a little because I want her and Shithead to get comfortable before I arrive, so I ring up her parents, too. I tell them I would love them to accompany me to a surprise. They are worried at first and want to know what the surprise is. But I calm them down and talk them into coming. I was also able to contact Lewis' wife through his Facebook, and she wasn't that hard to find. I tried calling at first, but there was no answer. So, I drove down to her address, and I explained to her what was going on. She broke down at first, but she agreed to come. We got to the hotel at about 12:30. Her parents had gotten there. First, we go straight up to their room. Her parents are still confused. They're asking if everything is all right and where was my wife. They have no idea what's going on or who Lewis' wife is. I calmed them. We got to their room. I knocked and said I was the hotel's manager and that I would like to speak with Lewis. The door opens, and out comes Shithead tying only a towel. I can't forget the look on his face. He goes white. He tries to talk when his wife strikes him hard on the face and walks off. He goes after her. Then I hear my wife call from inside. She asks, "Who is it, babe?" I go in with her parents to find my wife with only a towel on. She turns white as she sees us. She starts to cry, and her mother joins in. I guess she's supposed to be her parents' golden child. She starts spewing shit, saying it's not what it seems, etc. I tell her I'm not here to argue. I hand the divorce papers to her, and I also give her the printed out texts. I told her I was emailing it to everyone we knew and I would hand it to our daughter so she would see the monster her mother was. She broke down. I knew she'd be worried about her professional image and her image before her kids. I gave her the check for half of the money market account, and I told her I'd withdrawn my half of the money from all the other joint accounts. It was enough to get a place of hers. She started to cry some more. Her parents were silent, and in tears. They went to stand in the lobby. I could almost see the different thoughts and waves of emotions going through her. She asked why I would do this to her, but we both know she brought this on herself. I tell her I expect her to sign the papers and leave them at the house when she comes to get her stuff. I started to leave. I told her she could continue to have fun with Lewis. I leave and apologize to her parents. I am really sorry they had to see this. They understand and advise that we both see a marriage counselor before any decision is made, but my mind is made up. On my way out, I pass Lewis and his wife having a fit downstairs. I smile a little. Serves the bastard right. We both exchange a few heated words. He asks if I'm happy, and I scream yes. I got in my car. I started to cry, but I managed to get my shit together enough to drive off. I have no idea what she did that evening or over the weekend, but she repeatedly texted and called me, asking to talk. I turned off the phone. She came on Monday to have a talk with the kids, basically saying, "Mommy and Daddy need some time apart. We still love you," etc., etc. She then apologized some more and said she wanted her family back. She didn't know what she was doing, etc. I have no intention of ever taking her back. She betrayed me. I also got a call later from Mrs. Lewis. She thanked me for coming to her, etc., etc., and we're very good friends now. She also filed for a divorce. I like her. We went to court, and I think the judge felt sorry for me. He asked for statements from the kids and who they wanted to stay with. They both chose to stay with Dad in the house they grew up in. My ex cried. When the divorce was finalized, I got the house and had to buy out some of her equity, which wasn't much of a problem. I also got primary custody of the kids. The kids are happy and doing fine. She still calls saying we should get back together, but that is never going to happen. Update. Hi, I thought I'd give an update since a lot of people have been personally messaging me asking for one. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me after my first post. It's been some months since the divorce. I'm doing fine and settled in nicely with the kids. The atmosphere around the house has been weird, to say the least. The living room has turned into a desert island that no one frequents as we all spent the majority of our time there as a family. Even the kids seem to avoid it, too. I've also intentionally been working late a lot, so I don't have to think too much of it. I have been completely ignoring her, but after reading about the 180, I have started implementing that and been civil, if a little cold, towards her. I'm so glad I did this, as I was beginning to feel like a monster refusing to acknowledge her existence in everything I did. It was not the right way to behave, and I ended up feeling like the one who had wronged her rather than the other way about. The only time I broke from the 180 was when I walked into the bathroom last weekend. She was over to see the kids, and I found her sitting on the floor by the bath crying. I helped her up and instinctively gave her a hug, though it was more of a their type hug than one with much love attached to it. The sad thing is that I'm so suspicious of her now that I wouldn't put it past her to be waiting on me coming in so she could put on a performance. I'm completely over my ex, though. She comes over to see the kids occasionally. She's been crowing about how she'll do anything and everything to save this marriage. Anything to prove to me that it was just a silly mistake. She looks terrible. She lost her job and looks really awful. I'm sure she'd say anything to get out of her current life. Her boss found out about our divorce, and after hearing the story, she was displeased. So she fired her. I heard she and Louis decided to stick together for a while. I guess she was trying to make me jealous or something. It doesn't even matter anyway. I meant what I said in my op. Every morsel of love I had for her dissipated into the atmosphere after I read her say those horrible things. I don't see her as my true love anymore, the person I could tell anything to and would trust with my life. I just see trash, the trash that needs to be taken out before it stinks the place up. She tried to get me to come to a compromise, saying that in 3 or 4 months, we can look at it again and see where we are mentally, and is pushing me to try couples counseling before I completely throw in the towel. I'm not doing that. The thought of being in the same house as my wife over Christmas makes me feel ill. She'll want to do it right. No way. Her friends tell me everything that goes on with her. They're on my side now. It turned out really bad for Louis. He went down hard in his divorce, and he lost his kid in their house. He kept showing up at my house some days after his divorce. He looked like a total mess, like a guy who had lost everything. He called me out and said I should face him, and I cost him his life. I laughed at him. He was sad. He lost his job after the confrontation. His wife went to his bosses and told them everything. They were displeased. She also shared the printout of all their messages among his colleagues, so they fired his ass. I called the cops and was able to get a restraining order against him. My wife and Louis live together. I heard he doesn't treat her well. He blames her for everything. She looks pale. And she has no friends. Sometimes I feel sorry for her. I let her stay overnight sometimes, but I'm always careful with her. I've been seeing other people, and currently, I'm going out with this very nice lady. We met at my party. My friends decided to throw me a party to cheer me up after the divorce. I was diagnosed with depression, and she's the breath of fresh air I needed. She won't be named, but we've been going out for 2 months, and she's excellent with the kids. I asked her to move in. My ex is not happy, and she still has dreams of us being a family again. She still begs me to take her back, but as I said, it's not happening again. She thinks she'll have me whatever it takes. Some weeks later, I got a call from the attorney's office. He said my wife was trying to file a petition to reopen the case as new information concerning the case was reviewed. I asked, what new information? He says, your wife claims she's pregnant for you. I'm confused. It's not possible. That lying snake. Clearly, it's not mine. We hadn't been close even before the divorce. I tell my friends about it, and they say, don't worry, it's just a pathetic way of trying to get back. How could getting pregnant help? It was clearly for Louis, who she was staying with. The lawyer told me not to worry and that she would have to take a paternity test to prove I was the father. I honestly feel concerned for her mental health. She should see a psychologist. She's over the next day, telling my girlfriend she was pregnant with my child and how she's the mother of my kids. I kick her out and tell her that if she wants to see her kids, they'll come over to her place, and she should never return. She screams and yells. She refuses to get a paternity test but goes on to tell everyone who would listen that the child belongs to me. And I did all this to get rid of her and take in a new wife. Some weeks pass, then Louis' wife calls me and says she's getting back with him. She says she still loves him, and he had suffered enough. She says he'd be moving in with her soon. I tell her about my ex and their baby, and she says they'll work it out. Shithead Louis didn't hesitate. He left my ex and moved back home, leaving her alone and pregnant. I feel sorry for all her suffering, but she really did bring all this on herself. I'm thinking of getting married to my new girlfriend, moving away from this house, and just starting a new life.